doubly reinforced rectangular beam. So next, so far whatever you have seen is singly reinforced rectangular beam. Now doubly reinforced rectangular. Doubly reinforced means you will see here in the top also many reinforcements are there, and the bottom also many reinforcements are there. So that is called doubly reinforced beam. As I discussed earlier, if the main reinforcements are provided in both compression and tension zone, it is called doubly reinforced beam. Remember, in a singly reinforced beam also we are providing hanger bar or anchor bars in the compression zone, but that does not necessarily take any compressive force. That is just to hold the stirrups in position. For that purpose only the hanger bar or anchor bars are there. But if you are providing main reinforcements, this is very important. No? Main reinforcements in both the compression and tension zone, it is called doubly reinforced rectangular beam. Okay. Now you should know what is the sign convention and how do you represent doubly reinforced beam. As usual, in a cross section of the beam, this is the width of the beam. B small b is the width of the beam. Capital D is the overall depth of the beam, and this reinforcement in the tensile zone is represented by A, capital A, suffix S, suffix T. S for steel, T for tension, A for area, right? And this you are providing at an effective cover here or at an effective depth D. Similarly, you also provide the area of steel in compression zone, that is ASC, and this is provided at an effective stirrups, and this is D dash. This effective cover to the compression steel is represented by D dash. Okay, is that clear, everyone? Because this only same thing, except in a singly reinforced beam you don't have this ASC. In a doubly reinforced beam you have a ASC coming into the picture, and this area of steel in compression zone is provided at a depth of D dash, which is called effective cover to the compression steel. This is the only addition. All other things remain same. Okay. So this is how you represent the doubly reinforced beam. So when they say effective cover to the tensile steel, that is from the extreme tension zone to this, that is effective. One thing I forgot to mention in the earlier one. 1 second here. Suppose if you provided reinforcement like this, then you have the effective depth will become from here to, you have to find out the centroid of all this. It will be somewhere here. That becomes your effective depth. Okay, this is effective depth for whenever you have a multiple layers of main reinforcement. The centroid of this reinforcement will become the not from extreme fiber. Okay, I have discussed before also. Whenever you provide the reinforcement in multiple layers, you have to find out where will be the centroid of the reinforcements. That is, it will be somewhere here for this particular problem. So that will be effective depth. Okay, because only one layer is there. That is only one layer is there. So this become effective depth. This is a D dash. Now look at vertical stirrups. I told you 2 leg means only there are 2 legs like this. This is 1 leg. This is another leg. Sometimes you can find 3 leg, 4 legged also, but we are not going to take up this right now. So why should we use doubly reinforced beam? The most important question: why should we go for a doubly reinforced beam? So the reasons are given here. Doubly reinforced sections may be necessary when architectural requirement restrict the depth of the beam. For example, if you provide a for a long span beam and very heavy load, if you provide a beam, let us say the height of the room itself 3 meters. Now, if you provide a beam of depth 1 meter, obviously it will look very ugly in the sense that 1/3 of the room is covered by the beam height itself. So, but if you reduce the depth, it will look when you look at this architecturally, it will have a very pleasing look. So, if you want to reduce the depth of the beam, if you are reducing depth of the beam, what you are doing is, in the compression zone, you are reducing the concrete area. When you are reducing concrete area, compressive force, it will take very less compressive stress. So in order to increase the compressive strength, you are providing reinforcement in the compression zone also. So doubly reinforced section may be necessary when architectural requirements restrict the depth of the beam. In such cases, the beam has to carry moments greater than limiting capacity. Increasing the depth, two problems with the increasing the depth of beam. One is that it increases self weight of the beam, because when compared to steel, the self weight of concrete is more, in the sense that for a particular force to be taken, compressive force to be taken by steel or concrete, concrete will have more weight. So you are increasing the self weight by increasing the depth of the concrete. Okay, that is one reason. Second one, when the bending moment at a section changes its sign, one should definitely go for a doubly reinforced beam to avoid sudden failure. Now, how in a structure bending moment will change? For example, let us say I'll take a small example here. Let us say I have a bridge. Okay, the bridge is supported by a column at several places, or a train is running over the overbridge or something like that. Let us say a vehicle is running here. Obviously, because the vehicle is running in this direction, when the vehicle comes to middle, in this middle here, your deflection will be something like this. Deflection of this particular slab will be something like this, or beam will be something like this, and again it will be like this, because deflection will be continuous like this. Deflection will be something like this. But when this vehicle goes here, then the deflection will change like this. At this place, here let us say your bottom of the portion of the beam will have a tension. But when the vehicle starts moving from one side to other side, your beam may have some this kind of deflection like this. So what will happen? The top portion becoming this one, or what you call experiencing tensile force. So bottom also tensile force, top also tensile force it is experiencing, and concrete is weak in tension. So you have to provide reinforcement bottom, top also in the main reinforcement. So this is one example where the bending moment changes its sign. Or in during earthquake also in a structure, let us say you have a structure like this. Now one time, let us say earthquake is in this direction. So this beam may have a particular type of bending moment where, when suppose if the earthquake is from the other side, it may be, the sign may be reversed. So anytime, whenever you have a structure experiencing the bending moment changing its sign, right, from positive to negative, like here, this is a sagging bending moment, but this is a hogging bending moment. So sagging and hogging means the reversal. Okay, sagging bending moment is positive, hogging bending moment is negative. So it is changing the sign. So that is why whenever a bending moment at a section changes its sign, one should definitely go for a doubly reinforced beam to avoid sudden failure. Okay, that is one thing. Next, while assembling the reinforcement cage for a beam, continuous compression reinforcement is provided, which hold the shear stress in place, also help the anchor setup. So, instead of hanger or for any beam, as I told you, while preparing the cage for the reinforcement, reinforcement cage, you are always providing the reinforcement at the top, which will hold the shear stress also, and also it will keep all the reinforcement intact. So that also acts as a compression reinforcement. Now, compression reinforcement provide safety in the case of reversal of stress due to wind load, due to seismic load, moving loads, or temperature stresses. For all these reasons, you should have a compression reinforcement. Some section of the continuous beam with wind load undergo change of sign of the bending moment, which makes compressive zone as tension zone, which we discussed. These section change can happen anywhere also. Here, particularly, continuous beam is mentioned. But let us say a cantilever beam. For example, in swimming pool and let us say some people will diving from here to the swimming pool. Before jumping, he will be jumping on the top of this. So it goes up, it goes down like this. It goes up, it goes down. So obviously tension is going to change its sign, this board. So that kind of thing also your reversal of changes, pending on changes its sign. So you have to provide reinforcement both at the top and bottom. Okay. So now what are the advantages of doubly reinforced beam? If the required area of tension steel, please pay attention to this statement very clearly. If the required area of tension steel is more than the limiting area of steel is AST limit. If the required area of tensile steel is more than AST limit, compression steel may be provided to increase the moment resistance capacity, because if you provided AST more than AST limit, this is called over reinforced section. Brittle failure will happen and failure will be sudden. So in order to avoid that, you go for a doubly reinforced beam. You never design a over reinforced section, but you can go for a doubly reinforced section. Okay. Next. Adding compression steel may change the mode of failure from compression failure of concrete to the tensile failure of steel. It may even change the section from over reinforced section to under reinforced section. That's what I told you. Now, compression steel, in addition to increasing the resisting moment, also increases the amount of curvature that a member can take before failure. That is, the failure become ductile. The more curvature means more ductility. Thus, the ductility of the section is increased substantially. So, when you provide doubly reinforced beam, the beam will behave in a more ductile manner than as a singly reinforced beam. Compression steel is also effective in reducing long-term deflection due to shrinkage and creep. Because of long-term this one, that also reduces the deflection due to long-term deflection due to shrinkage and creep. The experiments conducted on doubly reinforced beam have shown that beam will not collapse even if the compression concrete crushes when the compression steel is enclosed by stirrups. So, as I showed you in the over reinforced section, compression failure will take place suddenly. But if you have provided doubly reinforced beam, even though compression failure, concrete may fail, but beam will not collapse suddenly because you have provided a doubly reinforced beam. Now, if you see here, the effect of compression reinforcement on the strength and ductility of under reinforced beams. This is taken from most of the data and numericals, figures and all taken from N. Subramaniam book, Design of Reinforced Concrete Structure. The doctor has excellently presented everything. I'm very grateful to him for the material. Now, if you see here, this is the curvature multiplied by the overall depth in percentage, and this is the resisting capacity, Mn divided by FCKBD. This Mn is the flexural capacity, okay, or flexural strength, you can say. Now, if you see if PC is 0, that means percentage of compression reinforcement is 0. That means you are not provided any compression reinforcement. It can only bend up to here, up to this curvature can be only curvature in D only this much. Okay, so when you call this much, it can fail only up to this point. When you provide compression reinforcement as a 0.5 times the percentage of tensile steel, whatever tensile steel you provided here, you provide 50% of the tensile steel in the compression zone, then the strength also increased from here to it has increased to this level, and the ductility also increased from here to here. When you provide tensile compression reinforcement equivalent to the tensile steel, that is percentage of compression steel is equal to percentage of tensile steel, your strength has become almost more than 1.5 times. This was without any compression steel. This is with compression steel. Your strength this much increases there, right? And ductility also. See, ductility has increased from here to here. It has increased. This much ductility increased, and this much strength has increased. That is almost 50% increasing in the strength and 4 here, and this is almost more than 7, right? That is also more than 1.5 times increased. Okay, so this is about the ductility and strength when you provide the compression reinforcement in the under reinforced beam. Now this one is, suppose you have a simply supported beam loaded with UDL, right? Simply supported beam loaded with UDL, there will be a central deflection, this delta. Now how the central deflection will vary according to the variation of percentage of tensile steel, compression steel. Now you see here in the top curve, this top curve. So this is the number of days. After 120 days, if you provide this load, after 120 days, how much is the deflection? After 240 days, how much is the deflection? After 2 years, how much is the deflection? Right? Now, this is the initial elastic deflection. As soon as you provide this initial elastic deflection, if you remove the load, this initial elastic deflection will vanish. Okay? And the remaining part is the long-term permanent. Okay, remaining part is the permanent. Now, for this curve, for PC equal to 0, you can see after the end of 2 years, your deflection, let us say this is 75 mm here, this is 75 mm. Here it is almost it is 150 mm, maybe 140 you can say. So this is the total deflection at the end of 2 years. If you provided tension reinforcement equal to compression reinforcement equal to tension reinforcement, this is around 75. Now at the end of 2 years, if you don't provide any compression reinforcement, this value is almost 140, let us say. So almost 2 times this has become the deflection. So more and more deflection is going to come if you are not providing. So again, this is only 105 or so. If you provide 50%. So this is the effect of compression reinforcement on the sustained deflection. Sustained means you reduce the initial elastic deformation. Whatever is the remaining is the sustained deflection. Okay. So that is the advantage of providing compression reinforcement. Now, how will be the stress block of doubly reinforced beams looks like? It is exactly same as what you have for a singly reinforced beam, except that you are going to add attention complex concept is very simple. Okay, so we have the cross section of the beam only we are taking. The width of the cross section is B, and D is the overall depth of the beam, right? D is the overall depth is from top to bottom. Now this is cross section of the beam. This is the AST. Remember, I am writing AST at the bottom. This is the distance, the centroid of the tensile steel. Centroid of the tensile steel. Here is the stirrups. This red is the stirrups link. Stirrups is also called the link. Okay. The distance between the topmost compression fiber to the centroid of the tensile steel is the effective depth. Now for this, let us say this is your neutral axis, where the stresses and strains are 0 along this layer. Above this layer, all the even in a simply supported beam, all the layer above this will be compression, all the layer below this neutral layer will be in tension. Now this x is the depth of neutral axis. Now, this is the strain diagram which you refer to page number 69 or 68. The maximum strain is 0.0035 according to 39.1 assumptions. Maximum compressive strain in the concrete at the extreme fiber is 0.0035. At 0.002, you also have some strain value that we will discuss. And the strain at the bottom is epsilon st. These are the strain diagram. the same as what we discussed before for a singly reinforced beam. It is only repetition of it. We are recapitulating. Now this is a stress block for the singly reinforced beam where at the zero strain you have zero stress. At 0.002 strain you have 0.447 FCK. Similarly at 0.0035 also you have 0.447 FCK. This value, stress values. Between 0 to 0.002 strain, the stress values varies parabolically. From 002 to 0035, it varies as a linearly, a rectangular, it's a constant. So, and along the tensile steel, you have a tensile force. So, this is a stress diagram. And the component of a rectangular part is 3/7 of XU. XU is the neutral axis depth, and the parabolic part is 4/7 XU, right? Now, if you find out the total compressive force taken by the concrete C suffix C, compressive force taken by the concrete is 0.36 FCK XUB. One thing, if you observe very clearly, compressive force I am always drawing towards this arrow is towards left side. Tensile force I am drawing towards right side because this compressive force, this tensile force form a couple in an anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so don't show compressive force also in this side. Compressive force on this side, tensile forces on the opposite side. Similarly, here also you see compressive strain on this side, tensile strain on the other side. Okay, so that is to indicate above this all are compression, below this neutral axis all are tension. Okay, right. So C suffix C is compressive force resisted by the concrete alone, concrete in this compression fiber, 0.36 FCK XU into B. This will act at a distance of 0.42 XU, right? 0.42 XU is the distance at which this compressive force acts. Where the tensile force is called FST into AST. This the total tension force resisted by all these steel put together is FST into AST, where FST is the stress in the tensile steel, AST is the area of total tensile steel. FST. Normally, if the in an under reinforced section, FST will be equal to 0.87 Fy. Okay. So now this is all same whether it is a singly reinforced or doubly reinforced. Now you pay careful attention. Whenever you provide a compression steel here, I am providing, you look at here, the pink color is the area of steel in a compression side, that is ASA, provided at a distance of D dash, that is the effective cover to the compression steel. Now I am going to take a strain at this level of steel as epsilon SC. Remember, this is epsilon ST, T for tension. Strain in the steel in the tension zone is epsilon ST. Strain in the steel in the compression zone is epsilon SC. Now correspondingly, the stress in the compression, this epsilon SC you can find out from the similar triangle principle. For XU, this is the 0.0035. Now, you know, if this is XU, if this is a D dash, you can know this is XU minus D dash here. So for this XU depth, this is 0.0035. For XU minus D dash, epsilon SC, how much? That is what epsilon SC you can find out, right? Epsilon SC you can easily find out. Now correspondingly, what is the stress compressive force taken by the compression steel is C suffix S, that is given stress in the compression steel multiplied by the area of compression steel. Now this stress in the compression steel depends upon the strain in the compression steel. Many people take FSC as 0.447 FCK. That is not. This stress block is only for concrete. This stress block. This pink. Please mute yourself. So compression steel FSC into ASC, right? Now this FSC depends upon your epsilon is whatever the corresponding to the strain in this compression steel. You can find out the stress in the compression steel. Once you find out the stress, you can find out what is CS. Now, how will you find out this XU? Remember, your XU, the depth of neutral axis is always found using the force equilibrium of the here. Here is a compressive force taken by the steel, compressive force taken by the concrete, tensile force taken by the tensile steel. If you equate these compressive force equal to tensile force, you can find this. This CS will act at a distance of d dash as same as this. Now, to depth of actual neutralized XU for doubly reinforced B, you can consider the equilibrium of internal forces, that is compression force equal to tensile force. So, compression force you have two terms, compression taken by the concrete plus compression taken by the steel, which should be equal to tensile steel for the body to be in equilibrium. You know, compression taken by the concrete is 0.36 FCK XUB. Compressive force in the steel is FSC into ASC. Tensile force equal to tension force in the steel is equal to FST into AST. Now, if you equate these two, 0.36 FCK XUB plus FSC into ASC should be equal to FST into AST. In an under reinforced section, this FST will become 0.87 FY. So 0.87 FY into EST, because in general we will design only under reinforced section, not over reinforced section. So you can replace FST as 0.87 FY. Now we can find out XU from this equation. XU is equal to 0.87 FY AST minus FSC into AST divided by 0.36 FCK into B. So this is the equation you will use to find out the value of XU. So FSC, the stress value, as I told you, depends upon the strain value. Suppose if you are using a Fe250 steel, Fe250 steel will have FSC is equal to strain in the steel multiplied by Young's modulus of steel, and this value cannot be, it should be always less than equal to 0.87 FA. This I discussed before also, right? Similarly, if you are using Fe415 for F strain less than or equal to 0.696 Fy by Es, this is the linear part of the stress strain curve, 0.696 Fy Es. You can find out stress simply from here, multiplying the strain with the Young's modulus. Suppose if it is more, if epsilon S is more than this value, you have to take FSC from figure 3, this kind of figure I already showed you. While solving the problem, we will see how to take FSC, or you can also take from this one, like this is the for Fe415, for Fe500, strain values are given here, correspondingly you can find out. Suppose we have to value, you have to interpolate linearly. Okay, so the stress value in the compression steel will come from here. Okay. So this is, now how will you find out moment of, this is for to find out the depth of neutral axis for a doubly reinforced beam. Now this is how to find out moment of resistance. Now moment of resistance, again you take a moment of compressive forces with respect to tensile force. Now you know the compression taken by the concrete is there at this here. Similarly, that will act as a distance of d minus 0.40 XU, because this compressive force taken by the concrete will act as a distance of 0.40 XU from the top. Similarly, you also have a compression taken by the steel, that is CS, and this force will act as a distance of d dash from the top. So it will act as a distance of d minus d dash, right? Now, in a doubly reinforced beam, or you will always take moment of resistance with respect to tensile steel. Okay, so if you take moment about this T line, you have CC multiplied by this perpendicular distance, and this also acting in the same direction, CS multiplied by this perpendicular direction. So what you have to take moment of all the forces about the tensile force. I am taking these two forces. This CC is there acting at a distance of d minus 0.24 x. CS there acting at a distance of d minus d dash. So if you take the moment of these two forces about this line, both are acting in an anticlockwise direction. So MUR is equal to CC multiplied by d minus 0.42 XU plus CS multiplied by d minus d dash, right? So this is the moment of resistance. So moment of resistance equal to SEC is 0.36 FCK XUB d minus 0.40 XU plus CS is nothing but FSC into ASC into d minus d dash. That is your moment of resistance. So I will stop with this and continue tomorrow. If there is any doubt, please ask. Anybody have any doubt? Doubly reinforced beam is most important. Most of the time in the examination or interview they will ask about it. So you should be very clear about it. So any question? Anybody have any question, please? So this acts as a distance of d dash. So these are all things that we have seen. Now, how to find out the depth of neutral axis? You should always consider the equilibrium of internal forces, that is compressive force is equal to tensile force. In compression force, you have two terms and tensile force single term. That and all, if you write out all these things, you finally get this kind of equation. This compressive force resisted by the concrete, compressive force resisted by the compression steel. This is the tensile steel 0.87 Fy into AST, because mostly we will design only for under reinforced section. So in under reinforced section, FST will become 0.87 Fy because steel starts yielding first. So based on this, you can find out X is equal to 0.87 Fy AST minus FSC ASC, it's 0.36 FCKB. Some case, let us say if your beam is not under reinforced, if it is over reinforced, then this is not 0.87 Fy. You have to substitute the value of FST, not 0.87 Fy. While solving numerical, we will see that. Okay, this is the way you find out depth of axial neutral axis for a doubly reinforced beam. Right? Now, this FSC value, if you have a mild steel or Fe250 steel, which I explained sometime back also, epsilon SC into Young's modulus of steel. It is, remember, this is only for Fe250 steel, not for any other steel. So this value should be always less than 0.87 Fy. For example, for Fe250, 0.87 into 250, it will be almost 217.5, or some people take it as a 218. So this FSC value, the maximum, the highest stress possible in that mild steel is only 218 Newton per millimeter square. You cannot go beyond that. Next, for a Fe415 steel or Fe500 steel, FSC, this FSC is given by epsilon SC into Young's modulus of steel for epsilon SC less than or equal to 0.696 Fy ES, because your stress strain curve is linear up to this point, up to this strain 0.696 Fy divided by ES. After that, your stress strain value have a parabolic curve part that also we shown long back. So while solving the numerical, again we will get back into that. Okay. So, but if FSC is greater than this epsilon S is greater than this value, you have to take from the figure 3. Okay, if epsilon S is greater than this value, then we have to take from figure 3 of SP16. That I will be providing with you that graph. So you have to take FSC from there. Okay, this is the graph which I was telling you. Okay, now how to find out the ultimate moment of resistance? Remember, we discussed the compressive force resisted by the concrete is there, which is acting at a distance of 0.42 XU. So naturally, the distance between compressive force and this tensile force, that is called lever arm. Lever arm is D minus 0.42 XU, because from top to this level is D. This is D, that is written here. From here to here is D. And this is acting at a distance of 0.40 XU. So the lever arm distance for compressive force and tensile force is D minus 0.40 XU. You also have a compression force resisted by the compression steel acting at a distance of D dash. So for this force and for this tensile steel, the lever arm will become d minus d dash. So in case if you want to find out the moment of resistance, what you have to do is you take the moment of all these forces about this tensile steel. Okay. Then you have Cc into perpendicular distance d minus. That is what I am taking moment of all the forces about tensile force. What do you get? This Cc multiplied by perpendicular distance, that is this Cs multiplied by perpendicular distance d minus this. That term is the second term here, Cs multiplied by d minus d dash. Remember Cc means what? 0.36 FCK XUB. Cs is what? FSC into ASC. Okay, so that's what substituted here. So moment of resistance of a doubly reinforced beam can be found using 0.36 FCK XUB into d minus 0.40 XC plus FSC ASC into d minus d dash. This is how you find out the moment of resistance. Now, how do you find out? Just like in a singly reinforced beam, you have a MUR limit. Similarly, you also have for a doubly reinforced beam. So in a when you that is a limiting moment for or a balance section. Okay, MER for a balance section is called limiting ultimate moment of resistance. In a balance section, XU will be equal to XU limit, right? If XU is less than XU limit, what kind of section it is?
Under reinforced.
Under reinforced. If XU is more than XU limit, it is over reinforced. XU is equal to XU limit balance section. Okay. Now, if you replace in the previous equation instead of XU, if you replace with the XU with XU limit, that is become your moment of limiting moment of resistance for a doubly reinforced beam. Remember, in a singly reinforced beam, you have only this term. In a doubly reinforced beam, this is the additional term. Okay. Now, compression reinforcement for a balance section. So just like you have a AST limit, that is a percentage steel required for a balance section, that is tensile steel, that is AST limit. Similarly, for reinforcement balance section is given by, this is P is for percentage, C for compression steel, this is for limiting percentage. That is 0.87 Fy into, and this should be suffix, this Y, T and all suffix. 0.87 Fy Pt minus Pt limit divided by FSC minus 0.447 FCK for X is equal to XC limit. Remember, see here, if you clearly observe, this alone written in a blue color. Why? Because compared to FSC, this value will be much less. So in many of the book, you can easily neglect this. For example, FSC maybe for Fe415 steel, it may be around 350. It may be around 350. Let us say you are using M20 concrete. This value will be only 9. So 350 or 341 does not make much difference to the percentage of steel. So many of the book, they must have rejected this 0.447 FCK. So if you want to use it 0.447 FCK, that's fine. Or if you don't want, it's okay. So Fy, you know, yield strength of steel, right? 415 or 250 or 500. Pt is the percentage of reinforcement, provided reinforcement, that is 100 AST by BD, that is called PT. PT limit is 100 AST limit by BD, that is PT limit. This is PC limit, means percentage of compression reinforcement required for limiting section. FSC is the stress in the steel. Okay, so this is the PC limit. Suppose now, if PC provided, that means percentage of compression steel provided, if it is greater than PC limit, it is an under reinforced section. Please remember here it is completely inverse of your tensile reinforcement. If a percentage of steel provided in the compression zone, if it is greater than PC limit calculated from this equation, then it is under reinforced section. Otherwise, if PC provided is less than PC limit, it is an over reinforced section. So you have to increase the amount of reinforcement in the compression side to make it as an under reinforced section. Okay. Now finally, you can also write this MUR limit based on the steel also. This is represented with respect to compression forces. Okay, this is also compression force, this is also compression force. Suppose we want to write with respect to tensile force, this is the formula. 0.87 Fy AST limit in D minus 0.40 XC limit. This is for the balance section. Plus 0.87 Fy into PT minus PT limit DD into D minus D dash by 100. Okay. So you can use this equation or this equation. Remember, this equation is not given in the core. This moment of resistance in terms of tensile reinforcement, limiting moment of resistance in terms of tensile reinforcement is not given in the core. So you should make a note of it. Okay. Okay. So now, when a beam is considered to have a compression steel, let us say you provided some steel, whether it will be accounted towards compression steel or not, when it is said is, when AAC provided, it should be equal to 0.4% of the area of concrete in compression zone. Above the neutral axis, if you calculate the area of compression zone alone, multiplied by 0.4%, at least that much area AAC should have been provided. Then you can consider that as a compression steel. If it is provided less than that, it is not considered. Either this one or 0.2% of area of whole cross section, including, for example, if you take a rectangular section, let us say this is your neutral axis, like U. This is B. So either it should be 0.4%, mean 0.4 by 100, or B into X. This is this one, concrete in compression zone. This is 0.2 by 100 of B into D, whole section. Okay. So either this much should be there or this much should be there. Then only the steel provided in the compression zone is taken into account. Otherwise, we will simply neglect this steel. It is not having any, it cannot take any compression force. That's what it is taken. Okay. Okay. So next. So as I told you, in a in a mild steel, this is linear up to 0.87 Fy by ES. This part, this is a stress strain curve linear, and after that, your 0.87 Fy only stress is constant. Here, this is 0.87 Fy. This all these things 0.87 Fy only. So if your strain is here or here or here or here or anywhere the strain is, the stress value remain constant 0.87 Fy. So here I have written for a mild steel Fe250. This yield strain value, this epsilon y is calculated as 0.00108, which I explained last some time back also. Please go back and prepare 0.00108. That is the strain at yield for 250 steel. Similarly, for Fe415 steel, see Fe415 steel, this is the design curve. We always consider design curve. This curve is linear up to 0.696 Fy up to here. After that, it is a curved part. And from this is the yield epsilon y is equal to 0.87 Fy ES plus 0.002. So if you calculate that one, it is coming out to 0.0038. Here is slightly less than 0.002. 0.0038 is, if your steel has achieved this much strain, we say that your steel is started yielding, and at that time stress value is constant here, 0.87 Fy. Okay. So similarly, Fe500 steel strain at yield is 0.00417. So you should remember this value 0.0010, 0.0038, 0.0041. Okay. So these are the yield strains. So if your strain in the steel exceeds beyond this value, then stress in the steel will be 0.87 Fy. 0.87 Fy here also, 0.87 Fy mild steel also. Okay. So you will be calculating FSC based on these values. Okay. Now, as I told you before, in singly reinforced section, here also there are two types of problem. One is analysis problem, another one is a design problem. First, we will look at analysis problem, analysis of doubly reinforced beams, right? What is in analysis problem? What you are supposed to determine? What are the given data usually, and what are the things that are unknown in analysis problem? Anybody? Chakradhar is there. 5, roll number 5.
Sir.
What do you mean by analysis problem? Anyone else who knows? Hello?
Given data, cross section of beam will be given, sir.
Okay, cross section of beam includes what are the details? Cross section include what are the details? Cross section means you have
Width of the beam and
width of the beam, depth of the beam. What else?
Area of steel will be given.
Yes, exactly. Area of steel is given. Grade of concrete is given. Grade of steel is given. Okay. So what will be asked is you have to find out what is the capacity. That is the flexural capacity or moment capacity of the section will be asked. That is called analysis problem. So here you will be given cross section size. You will be given grade of concrete and steel. You will be given area of tension steel. If it is a doubly reinforced beam, you will also give an area of compression steel as well. And then the FIT covers to this steel will be given, right? Then you will be asked to find out what is the ultimate moment of resistance of the beam. This is the flexural capacity of the beam. So this is analysis problem. In the design problem, what are the data given and what we are supposed to do? In the design problem,
Load will be given, sir.
Load will be given, span will be given. So you have to
Grade
find
of
out
concrete and
grade of concrete and steel will be given. You have to find out the cross section size. You have to find out area of tension steel. You have to find out area of compression steel, right? That is called design problem. So first we will look at analysis problem, then we will go with the design problem, right? So first analysis problem. Calculate the ultimate moment of resistance of a doubly reinforced beam having B, small b, 300 mm. Effective depth, small d is given. Please note down this, 550 mm. Reinforced with rebars of, rebars means reinforcement bars. Okay, in short, they write rebars of 3054 millimeter square in tension zone and 982 millimeter square in compression zone at an effective cover of 50 mm. Effective cover to the tensile steel as well as to the compression steel is 50 mm. Take Fy is 250 MPa and FCK as 220 MPa. Is that clear? So just by reading, because in the examination they will not tell you, here it is of course written as a doubly reinforced beam. But many times this doubly will not be given. They will simply write calculate the ultimate moment of resistance of a beam having this data, right? You should ascertain whether it's a doubly reinforced or singly reinforced. Because here it's very clearly given reinforced with so and so in tension zone and so and so in compression zone. You should know it is a doubly reinforced beam. So as usual, the first step you write down all the given data, right? With the symbol, right? B is 300 mm, D is 550 mm. As I told you, effective cover is to the compression steel is D dash 50 mm. AST is given and ASC is given. Fy is given, FCK is given. In terms of figure, you have this one. This is 300 mm width and AST is given a 3054. I have written as a block, rectangular block instead of marking in the rounds because I don't know how many number of rods are provided. So as a block I have written AST is equal to 3054 millimeter square. So effective depth is given as 550 mm. This is the effective depth. And then ASC is 982 millimeter square at a distance of 50 mm from the topmost compression plate. This is also 50. This also will, this center also will be 50, that you already know, right? Then step 2 is to find out what is the critical depth neutral axis, right? Xe max. As you know, for Fe 250 steel from page number 70, Xe limit by D or Xe max by D is equal to 0.53. So Xe limit is equal to 0.53 into D, which is coming out to be 291.5 millimeters. This we have done several times, so I'm not going to repeat it or ask you for the same. So Xe limit is equal to 0.53D for Fe 250 steel. So you got 291.5 mm. Xe limit is equal to 291.5 millimeters. Now your question is to find out ultimate moment of resistance. So first of all, you have to see whether it's an under reinforced section or over reinforced section. Now to ascertain whether it is under reinforced section or over reinforced section, you should find out the XC value and XC max value. If XC is less than XC max, it's an under reinforced section. So next step would be to find the actual depth of neutral axis, that is XC, right? For XC, you already know the formula. X is equal to FST into AST minus FSC into ASC divided by 0.36 FCK into B, right? Now the problem is, to begin with, we will not know whether this steel is yielded or not. Whether this steel is also yielded or not, we don't have any idea. So what we will do, we will assume that the stress in the tensile steel reached the yield stress, that is 0.87 Fy. Then stress in the compression steel FSC also reached the yield stress, that is also equal to 0.87 Fy. We will assume this value and then calculate. Then we will justify whether our assumption is correct or not, right? Because FST you do not know, FSC also you do not know to begin with. We have to find, both are unknowns. So we will go with some assumptions. After that, we will see whether our assumption is correct or not. If our assumption is correct, the determined value of XU is correct. If our assumption is wrong, the determined value of XU is wrong, we have to revise the value. We have to go in a trial manner. Repeated cycle we have to do. Okay. Now for this problem, please you have to write down all these steps while in the examination. Assume FST equal to FSC equal to 0.87 Fy. What does it mean? I am saying that the tensile steel is yielded, compression steel is also yielded. So I am going to substitute this 0.87 Fy for this value because I know all other values. I know AST, I know ASC, I know FCK, I know B. The unknowns are FST and FSC. So I am assuming for it. Okay. And the maximum value can be only 0.87 Fy. It cannot go beyond 0.87 Fy. Right? So substituting this one, I will get 0.87 Fy AST minus AST 0.36 FCK B. Now what is the Fy given to you? That is 250 MPa. AST given to you was 3054 millimeter square. ASC given was 982 millimeter square. FCK given was 20 MPa. B is given as 300 mm. So if substitute all these things, you will get 208.64 millimeters. Right? Now tell me whether this is XC value 208.64. XC max is 291.5 millimeters. Right? So if you compare these two values, XU is less than XU limit. Sakala Datta, are you there? Is it an under reinforced section or over reinforced section? Roll number 12. Sekhar, 14. Are you there? Okay, so is it an under reinforced section or over reinforced section? When XU is 208, XU limit is 291. What is the type of section it is?
Under
reinforced. Yeah. So in under reinforcement and under reinforced section, which steel will yield? Tensile steel will yield or compression steel will yield? Under reinforced section.
Tensile steel.
Yeah. When you say under reinforced section, under reinforcements, your tensile steel will yield. Over reinforced means your compression over reinforcement, your compression concrete will fail. Under reinforcement means your tensile steel will start failing at that time. So because your XU as XU is less than XU max, it is an under reinforced section. So what does it imply? It implies that our assumption of FST, the tensile steel, stress in the tensile steel 0.87 Fy is correct. That is absolutely correct. So our assumption for a tensile steel 0.87 Fy is correct. Now we have to see whether the stress in the compression steel also 0.87 Fy or not. So for that, what you have to do is See, already you take this strain diagram, right? This is the XC value you found out to be 208 point something. This is 0.0035. This is epsilon SC at a distance of d dash. D dash is given as 50 mm in your problem. So for 208.0 or in general, if you write for XU, it is 0.0035 is the strain value. Now for what is this? What is this distance? XU minus d dash. What is the strain? That is epsilon SC. Epsilon SC is equal to 0.0035 multiplied by, if you take XU inside, 1 minus d dash by XU. Now find out epsilon SC from here. That's what I have done here. Epsilon SC is equal to 0.0035 1 minus d dash by XU here. Then if you substitute 0.0035 1 minus d dash divided by XU is 208.63, 0.00266 is the strain value. Now this is the Fe250 steel. For Fe250 steel, what is the strain at yield? You know, it is a 0.00108. So if you 0.87 Fy by Es is the strain at yield, that is coming out to be 0.00108. This is the yield strain at yield. Now actual strain in the compression steel is 0.0026. That means this is greater than this or less than this? Greater, right? This greater. So your your compression steel is already yielded because the strain in the compression steel 0.0026 is greater than the strain at yield 0.00108. So therefore, since epsilon SC is greater than epsilon Y, the stress in the steel, compression steel, is equal to 0.87 Fy. That is this assumption. Our assumption of FSC 0.87 Fy is also correct. So since your FSC is correct, your determined value of XU is equal to 208.64 mm is also correct. Is absolutely fine. Okay. Once you know XU and XU, you can easily find out moment of resistance. So determination of ultimate moment of resistance MU is equal to 0.36 FCK XU B into D minus 0.40 XU, right? Plus FSC into ASC into D minus D dash. So you just substitute all this 0.36 FCK XU B D minus 0.42 XU plus FSC value we found out here 0.87 Fy into ASC is 982 multiplied by D minus D dash. If you do this, you are getting, and for this part it is 208. For this part it is 106.79. So it is together it is coming out to be 315 point something. So your final answer is 315.16 kilonewton meters. So this is the ultimate moment of resistance of doubly reinforced beam given for the given data. Now tell me, remember in many of the book they have dealt with this problem in a different manner. But your code says, I will show you that SP16 code. So this curve 3, figure 3, I told you this is from this SP16 only. There, this is the stress strain values, and there's also another in terms of table they given you. That also I given in the PPT, right? Now here, if you see. See here, if you read this sentence, the approach given here, doubly reinforced section here, is meant for design of section and not for analyzing a given section. Okay. So many people, they used this method for analyzing the section, but the code clearly says the approach given here is meant for design of the section and not for analyzing a given section. So many times people have taken d dash by, like from this they will take FSC value from this, d dash by d is equal to find out, and then they will take value from here. If it is 0.1, 353, if it is 0.05, 355, in between these value you linearly interpolate. Okay, but that is only for meant for design, not for analysis. So I found this method to be more appropriate for finding out the moment of resistance. That is why I have chosen this method. But this is given in Menon design of reinforced concrete structure by Menon and Pillai, and also in Subramaniam also follow this approach. But all other book follows some other different approach, which is not, in my opinion, it can be used for design, not for analysis, as per the Indian code. Okay. Any doubt in this so far? Anybody? If any one of you have any doubt, yes.
Sir, once again repeat to epsilon SC, sir.
Epsilon SC. See, epsilon SC means what? Strain in the, 1 second. See here, 1 second. From this, you already found out XC value to be 208, right? This is the neutral axis, this is the extreme fiber, this is 0.0035. So for this much height, the strain is 0.0035, right? Now I want to strain at this place. This height is how much? D dash, right? D dash. And this, what is this height from neutral axis till here? That is XU minus D dash. So for XU it is 0.0035. For XU minus D dash it will be epsilon SC. That epsilon FC comes from the similar triangle principle, right?
Yes, sir.
That's all. Any other doubt?
No, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, previous we will find out the XU. Why should you take FST and FSC 0.87 apply?
Because that is the maximum value. I cannot go beyond that. And if you have to take less than value, less than can be any value. There can be infinite number of values less than 0.8 and F5, right? See,
sir, why should you take 0.696 FI? Is it possible, sir?
Because this is the, if you do the tensile test on the Fe415, Fe500 steel, this almost follow this line till up to this much it will be linear. This is from the experimental curve. So if you test the steel, it will be almost follow the linear line up to this much. After that it starts yielding, right? This is the approximation. So it is again, it is because steel will always exhibit some linearity, initial linearity. That is stress will be proportional to strain. So they found that this will be good approximation. That is why 0.696 FY is taken. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So any other doubt? So these are, again, it is very simple. Find the XC max value, find the XC value. The only difference is that here FSC comes. Now this formula is also written as here. In some book they write like X is equal to FST into AST minus FSC minus FCC into ASC, like that, divided by 0.36 FCK into P. This is for, suppose In a compression zone, if you are providing 2 rods, right? So obviously you have to remove this much of concrete. This much of concrete will be removed in the cross section, right? That is why this is given minus FCC. Okay, but this value will be very small, as I told in the previous also. FSC minus 0.447 FCK. When you compare these two values, this will be very less, so you can easily ignore it. So don't worry in your book and other books if they included FCC into ASC term. We are simply not including because this value is much less than FSC. Okay, so that you can see some book may have used that also, but I am neglecting it. Okay, so you are assuming the FSC value, FST value, then finding out the XU value. If XU is less than XU limit, it's under reinforced section. If it is under reinforced section, means your stress in the tensile steel will be 0.87. That means tensile steel is already yielded. Now to find out whether compression steel is yielded or not, you have to use this strain diagram using similar triangle principle. With the calculated value of XU, you have to find out what is the value of FSC. For that, you have to know this epsilon S is this much. So strain at yield for, remember this is only for mild steel, it's not for a Fe415 or Fe500 or higher grade steel. It is this equation is only for mild steel. So it is coming out to be this one. So your strain is more than yield strains, therefore your FSC is also 0.87 F1. So your XU value is correct. So from that you can find moment of resistance is easy. You can simply apply in the formula, you will get this value. Okay. Now the next question is same problem, but instead of Fe being 250, instead of Fe 250 steel, you have Fe 415 steel. Okay. All other data remain same. Only thing is that if Fi has changed to 415 MPa. Now let us see how the moment of resistance varies. Now step 1, as you said, given that this is same as whatever we have done in the previous sum. So Xc max, of course it will vary because Xc max for Fe 415 steel is 0.48D as opposed to 0.53D in Fe 250 steel. So you got 264 millimeter as the Xc max or Xc limit, 264 millimeters. Now again you have to find out XU. Again we are writing the same general equation. In this FST and FSC you assume it 0.87 Fy. Both values are 0.87 Fy. AST you know, ASC you know, FCK you know, B you know. So if you substitute in this formula all these values, you are getting XU as 346.34. 346.34 millimeter you are getting. Obviously when you compare XU value with the XC limit, it is an over reinforced section. Over reinforced section means your tensile steel will not yield. Remember, before tensile steel yielding, your concrete in the extreme compression fiber will fail, will crush, right? So FST will not be equal to 0.87 Fy. So FST equal to 0.87 is Fy is not correct assumption. So that means your calculated value of XU is not correct. So since it is coming out to be over reinforced section, we can take XU as XU limit, right? Then remember this is only approximate solution, but if you want the exact solution, you have to do in a trial and error manner. That I am skipping now. You can just use this one. Since it is an over reinforced section, you can use X is equal to XC limit. Then find out the limiting moment of resistance for a doubly reinforced beam 0.36 FCK XC limit B into D minus 0.42 XC limit plus FSC into ASC into D minus D dash. Now the problem is we have not found out FSC value, right? So to find out FSC value, because it is considered as X is equal to XC limit, you have to use this equation 0.0035 and 1 minus D dash divided by XC only, but in this case X is equal to XC limit. So if you found that it is coming out to be 0.00284. Now what is the yield strain for a Fe415 steel? If you remember, that is from figure 3, sorry, here I have not written. If you remember, yield strain for Fe is equal 0.0038 something. Okay, 0038. Obviously, your strain it's only 0.00284. Yield strain is 0.0038, which is less than. So your FSC value, this if you calculate FSC value, FSC will be less than 0.87 F5. Now that you have to find out from figure 3, epsilon S is equal to 0.0284. That comes from this figure. I will show in SP16. Figure 3. See here, this is 0.002, this is 0.003, this cannot be calculated, that's the problem. Okay, so are you able to see the graph? Anyone answer, please?
Yes, sir.
So is the cursor visible near the strain?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is 0.003, this is 0.002, so 0.0028 will be close to this somewhere here. So if you go along this line, right, in the top, whatever the value is there, that is your. Sorry. Actually,
we can't see it.
In this cursor is not visible. So what will I do? 1 second. I will put it. I will see whether I have figure here or not. Okay, remember this 0.00284. I will show you where it is. Is it there somewhere? This graph. I have put this graph somewhere. I have to see. No, here. Okay. See, this is. Are you able to see now? I will take to point laser point. This is 0.002. This is 0.003, right? Okay, and this is 0.0028. Now, along 0.0028, if we go here, and what is the value of your FSC here? This is 0.003 strain. Okay, this is 0.0028. 284 means it will be little bit on the right side. It will be somewhere close to 350 or 351, right? Is that clear? You will, if you see here, this is the design curve for Fe415 still this curve. I have clipped. I have cut off this much portion and combined this bottom port and the top portion. Right, this is the top portion. So 0.0028, you get around 350 or so. So that's what I am taking here. Or what you have to do, you have to use this. I don't know that the table is here or not. Yes, here. See, for Fe415 steel, here you see here, 0.00276, how much is the value? 351. So 0.0038, it is 360. So it will be 0.00284. It will be more than 351, less than 360, and it will be close to 351 only because 0.00276 it is 351. So 0.0028 will be 352 or so, whatever. Okay, so you can interpolate there, you can get the values. So what I got here is okay. This is done. Design. So. Second, so it is a epsilon SC coming out to 0.00284. So if you do interpolation or 277 to 0.0028 almost one and the same. So epsilon SC for epsilon SC 0.00284. Your FS is 351 MPa you have taken from this figure. Okay, from the table it will come 352. So 351, 352 does not make much difference. So FSC is equal to 351. 0.87 into 450, 415, how much? Calculate and tell me. 0.87 FY. 0.87 into 415, how much?
$361.05, sir.
So that if your steel got yielded, the stress would be 361. But because it is not got yielded, you got only 351. 351 is less than 361. That is why the stress in the steel is steel has not yielded, and the amount of stress is 351 MPa. Now substitute this 351 MPa here. ASC, you know, all our quantity, you know. So ME is equal to 0.36 FCK. FC limit you found out before only 264, 300. D minus 0.42 XC limit plus FSC ASC into D minus D plus. You can also write directly this one. You can also write, you know, for Fe415 steel, what is the ME value, ME limit? ME limit is equal to 0.138 FCK BD square. You can use, instead of this, you can use that 0.138 FCK BD square plus FSC into ASC into D minus D dash. FSC you have to find out using the similar triangle principle. Find out epsilon SC, then find out FSC for the corresponding strain, and substitute here. You will get the final value as 422.72 kilonewton meters. This is the second analysis problem. Any doubt to anybody? If there is any doubt, please let me know. But again, you have to go back and refer whenever the class is on that same day. You go back and refer, you will be able to better understand. But if you refer after 1 month or 2 months, it will be very difficult. Okay. Okay. Then the last problem in the analysis. Again, it is a doubly reinforced beam of size 300 mm by 700 mm. Is reinforced with reinforced with 4 number of 25 mm diameter bars in tension zone, 2 number of 25 mm diameter bar in compression zone. The effective cover to the reinforcements is 45 millimeters. Take Fy 415 and FCK 20 MPa. Here also you have to find out ultimate moment of resistance of a doubly reinforced beam. So here also same thing. So I am going to skip it till XU. So XU limit again 0.480, you got 314.4. Now to find XU, I am assuming again FST, FSC as 0.87 Fy and calculating value of XU. That is coming out to be 164.14 millimeter, right? So XU limit is 314.4, XU is 164.14. So it is an under reinforced section. So as XU is less than XU max, it is an under reinforced section. So under reinforced section means what? Your tensile steel will yield first. So if our assumption of FST is equal to 0.87 Fy is correct. Now epsilon SU you find out. For XU it is 0.0035. So XU minus D dash, how much it is? You find out substituting this value. It is coming out to be 0.00254 epsilon SC. But for Fe4 and 5, epsilon strain at yield is 0.0038. That means your strain is less than the yield strain. That means your FSC, the stress in the compression steel is not 0.87 Fy because the strain in the steel is less than the yield strain. So consequently, the stress in the compression steel will be less than 0.87 Fy. That we have to find out. Now how to find out? So since epsilon SC is less than epsilon Y, therefore FSC will be less than 0.87 Fy. That means our assumption FSC equal to 0.87 Fy is not correct. Because 0.87 Fy is not correct, and you have determined the value of XU based on 0.87 Fy. Therefore, your XU value found out is also not correct. Is it clear? Any doubt so far? The XU came out to be less than XU max, so we thought our assumption of FST is equal to 0.87 FY is correct. But for that XU value, if you find out the value of FSC, FSC is coming out to be less than 0.87 FY. That means our XU value 164.14 is not correct. This has to be revised. Now, how to revise it? How to revise this? So, determination of stress and compression steel, FSC. Our FSC value is not 0.87 FI, which is not 361 Newton per millimeter square. We have to find out FSC. Then after finding out the correct value of FSC, we can find out the value of XU. Alright. So how will you, the first trial one? Assume epsilon S is equal to 0.00254. Previously we assumed that a strain is yielded like that. That means we assumed 0.0038 like that we assumed. We calculated XU value. Now what we are going to do is based on this computation, we got this initial value as 0.00254. We are taking that value as a strain in the compression steel. For this compression, for this strain, again, if you calculate FSC value from the figure 3.00, that figure as I shown you some time back, this is a 0.00254. Okay. If you take it from 1 second. Yeah. Or we can take from the table also, no problem. 25 is here, somewhere here. So here you may not be able to see, and I cannot mark it here also. Okay. Somewhere below 350, that line is there. So you can see that later on I will show you how to do that. So for that FSC value is 347 MPa is coming. Now knowing this value, now substitute this value in XU value. If I substitute for XU, this one. FST IST minus FST IST 0.3. FST you will put a 0.87 FI only, but for FST you will substitute 347. So if you substitute this value, your XU1 in the first trial is coming out to be 170.53 millimeters. Now what was the earlier value? The earlier value was 164.14. Now you got 170.53. You have to keep on repeat this trial until you get two successive value of XU almost same. Now in the first trial you got 170.53. So this is not converged. This is 164. This is 170. So now I have to do. So I have to find out the epsilon SC for this 170 point value. That is for this 170.53. My epsilon SC is coming out to be 0.02576. So for this value, I am assuming now this is the first I assumed from this value 0.00254. For that I found out FSC. That FSC value was substituted here to find out XU1. Now this XU1 value is substituted in epsilon SC to find out the next strain. Now this next strain you take as a fresh value and find out FSC, that is 348 MPa, and substitute in XU, you are getting it 170.07. Now it is almost equal to 170.53, right? 170 is coming, so you can stop here. That means your FSC is 348 MPa. So therefore your XU is 170.07. So to find out the ultimate moment of resistance, you use this formula. XC is known, all other things is known. FSC is this value, finally found out value 348 MPa. So if you substitute all this thing, you will get a value of 422.83 kilonewton meters. So this is the analysis. So you go back and refer, and if there is any doubt, you can ask in the next class, because already time is shooting off. So meanwhile, if there is any doubt, you ask me.